You might not even realize that you're suffering from overstimulation, but if your brain feels like it's always on, your mind feels frantic and life feels chaotic, and you kind of feel a little bit more like an overworked robot than you do a person, then you're overstimulated. And in this video, I'm going to teach you how to stop being overstimulated so that way you can actually enjoy your life. So you can start to experience your life in a way that feels intentional and purposeful and like the version of it that you want to live. So if feeling a bit more peace in your life sounds good to you, you're in the right spot. Hi and welcome. I'm Amanda, a busy full-time working mom, and I help women just like you how to thrive in their feminine energy despite all the masculine demands in your life. So why does it matter? Who cares if we're overstimulated? Well, first and foremost, it puts us in a constant stress cycle. And a lot of the times we don't even realize the impact that all of these little micro stressors throughout our day are having on us. And you might not even realize what these stressors are. We're going to talk about it. Being overstimulated also significantly impacts your ability to focus. And when our focus is impacted like that, well, it takes us a lot longer to do the things that we don't really want to do but have to do, leaving you with less time available to do the things that you actually love and that actually fill you up and make you feel joy in your life. Overstimulation makes you a lot more susceptible to being triggered to lashing out to the ones you love. And it makes little tiny minor issues feel like a way bigger deal than they actually are. So let's get right to it. How do we stop being so overstimulated? First, we need to simply slow down. Stop rushing through life in big ways and small. Stop multitasking. It's not nearly as efficient as you think it is. Stop striving for perfection and stop making other people's urgencies your own. So that's step one. Any way that you can possibly slow down in your life, do it. Next is to allow yourself to get bored. That looks like no more constantly having a headphone in or a YouTube video playing in the background. No more constantly listening to podcasts or audiobooks or music or taking your phone into the bathroom with you. Allow yourself to get bored. Allow your brain to experience a little bit of nothingness. And this isn't just about reducing the overstimulation in that exact moment, but it's also about not consuming so much information. Yes, even if it's good and beneficial information. Information, no matter how great it is still overstimulating to your brain. Your brain is always processing that information, even far after you listen to that YouTube video or podcast episode. Especially if this relates to good information, then your brain is processing thinking on how to implement it in your life, or feeling guilty about the fact that you're not implementing this good advice in your life. Either way, of course, there's a time and a place for consuming information like this, but you probably need to scale it back if you feel overstimulated. Allowing yourself to get bored means not always having your phone in your pocket. And I hope you're not doing this anyways, but if always having your phone out, even when you're with people, is a problem for you, you really need to stop that because one, it's rude. But two, of course, it's very overstimulating. And it's not just about honoring the company of the people that you're with, but it's also about honoring your own company. When's the last time that you had a meal by yourself alone without any distractions? I know before I started intentionally doing this, it had been a long time. And keeping your phone out of reach will also help you get out of the habit of grabbing for it like once every 5 to 10 minutes, maybe even more. But every time we do that, it's a little trigger to our brain, whether there's a text message there waiting for us or not, whether we open up the Instagram or not. Just the act of grabbing your phone and sliding the screen up to see what's going on is a tiny little micro stressor to your brain. And when you have hundreds of those, thousands of those a day, it really adds up. And we end up, you guessed it, overstimulated. Here's a fun fact that I learned, and when I did, it kind of rocked my world. And that is that your body needs to complete a stress cycle. Because when your body and your brain feel threatened, and a threat could be something as simple as your kid crying, or your kid. This morning, my son would not go down the stairs unless I picked him up. We were going to be late for school if I didn't move things along. It was a mess. It sent my body into a stress state. So a threat to your nervous system can be something as small as that. Someone cuts you off at traffic. Your boss says something that pisses you off. Whatever it may be, Your body and your nervous system must complete the stress cycle, because what happens is your body gets thrown into the stress and then it just kind of stays there and it doesn't know that it's actually okay and that we're actually out of the threat. So it needs to complete the cycle. And it does this in a couple different ways. The first super great way is with exercise. So that would be my number one recommendation. If you're not already consistently exercising, I know you've heard it. I know you've heard it 1,000 times, but maybe this is the 1,001st time that you're hearing it, that it really lands and feels important. Exercise for the benefit of your nervous system. Especially, really any exercise will help with this because it's giving your body something to physically focus on, other than the stress of your kid not putting their shoes on. But something that incorporates breathing, like yoga, would be amazing for this. And on that note, if you don't have time for a workout and you're feeling all kinds of stressed out and you just want to get past it and feel like you're in a calm state, then just taking even 5 minutes, even 3 minutes of deep breathing will help your body complete that stress cycle. And of course, you're more susceptible to overstimulation when you're in a stress state than when you're in a calm state. Now, this next one, I'm not going to harp on because I made a whole video about it on how to stop doom scrolling, which is so important. I talked about your phone a couple minutes ago. So your phone in general is a huge overstimulator, but especially doom scrolling. And my recommendation is to cut it out cold turkey, and I explain why in that video. And this is so important because of course it's a time suck, of course it's a time waster, but it's also a huge contributing factor to those micro stressors that I've been talking about. And the most important reason why you want to cut out doom scrolling is because it's actually stealing joy away from your life. And again, it's not just about the time that gets sucked away when you're doom scrolling, but doom scrolling, it's basically just hit after hit after hit, cheap hit after hit after hit of dopamine. And then our brain gets used to it and our brain craves it and it wants that level of dopamine hit in order to feel satisfied, which means that it actually makes it harder for you to enjoy the simpler pleasures in life, simpler and more meaningful pleasures of life. Things that actually create valuable hormonal spikes in oxytocin and serotonin. Boosts from oxytocin and serotonin rather than dopamine actually spike your mood. They actually put you in a better mood and give you generally a greater sense of well-being. Simply put, cut out doom scrolling and it will make it so much easier to feel more content with your life as it is. Now I'm going to plug another video. It's this one here, all about true self-care. Because there's a difference, right? Because it's important to distinguish true self-care from cheap self-care. And I explain all that in the video. But here's a really quick overview. True self-care is things like nutrition. You're eating foods that make your body feel good. Exercise. You're moving your body in a way that feels good and helps complete that stress cycle. You're getting enough sleep. You're resting your mind. But on the topic of rest, and as it relates specifically to overstimulation, your brain is so susceptible first thing in the morning and right before you go to sleep. So I encourage you to create a wind down routine for bedtime and a slow morning routine. And I know we don't all have the luxury of having 2 hours in the morning to luxuriate before we need to get ready for work or whatever it may be. But even if you made a 15-minute routine and all your routine was you got up, you made yourself a cup of coffee, and you sat for 5 minutes before you opened your phone or checked your email or started rushing to get ready, that would have a significant impact on how you feel throughout your day. It would directly impact the level of stimulated that you feel. So I highly encourage you to do that. Same principles apply to creating an evening routine. I'm not going to tell you what it should be or how long it should be. Just create a little or big ritual that you do before you go to bed that makes you feel really calm and really helps lower your stimulation levels. And specifically talking about nutrition, obviously it's important to eat your vegetables, get your protein, but I want to get a little bit more specific as it relates to overstimulation. You want to reduce your sugar, carbs, and caffeine intake because obviously, as we know, sugar and caffeine will put us in a very stimulated state. But sugar and carbs, and I guess caffeine eventually too, all come with a crash. And so this isn't specifically related to stimulation because those crashes, obviously they don't make you feel overstimulated. But I don't know about you, but if I'm experiencing a sugar crash or a carb crash, They put me in a very sensitive to stressors state that feels a lot like overstimulation, so I felt it worthy to mention. And it's so important to prioritize your own joy and hobbies and relaxation, whatever that means to you. If you like this video, I know that you're going to love the videos in this feminine energy playlist because I didn't get a chance to talk about it in this video, but a woman who is aligned with her feminine energy simply cannot be overstimulated. Feminine energy is my favorite thing to talk about because as women, as we become realigned with our feminine energy, everything in our life gets better and easier and softer. Everything simply begins to fall into place and feel like we're finally living the life that we were meant to. I hope that you'll subscribe so we can see each other again soon. Stay aligned.